Hello, good people. It's a delight to be here with you again on this episode of the Prosperity for Posterity podcast. I'm so excited to bring this topic to you today. And of course, I'm not here by myself. I have a host. I have a guest with me, and I'm so excited for what she is about to share with you. I will tell you, I know. I say it all the time. All the topics change lives. That's why we do this. It's for transformation, not just for you, but also for generations to come. So today we're talking about credits, personal and business credits, and talking about tips and hacks for credit growth for your personal and business. So I'm going to bring on my guest, Charniese. Here you are. Hello,
Hi,
hello,
hi,
hello.
hi. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you so
Good.
much. Nice to have you on today. I'm so excited. Folks, I met Charniese at the African Business Club convention, the conference that happened about 2 weeks ago or thereabout. And I hosted a workshop with at that conference, and she was on the
Mhm.
panel. She was a panelist, and her story, our experience basically with credit usage was so phenomenal. And when I got back, I was thinking on, okay, of course, I have my topics for the podcast that, okay, which one am I going to do next? And then her story just kept recurring in my mind, in my spirit. Actually, I took part of her tips. I've started using part of her tips, and you're going to hear about that. Once she gets to that tip, I'm going to tell you that is the one I am actually working on using as of today. So before we go on, I'm going to read a bio. I have a bio here, so be ready to be wild, guys. I have Janice Nina here with me. She has had a passion for money and personal finance since her teenage years. Having a strong desire to leave behind financial struggles of her youth, Janice took every opportunity to learn just how money works. She currently works professionally as a portfolio manager and personal finance coach with experience in financial analysis, lending, credit building, small business, startups, entrepreneurship, and financial education. It is a belief that through financial liberation, people are free to discover their true selves and find a deeper meaning and purpose in life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, drum roll, please, Janice Nina. I'm so glad to have you today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Omo. I am so honored to be here on the podcast. I am passionate about this work. I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think it's well overdue for us to get this type of information. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
you for just having the platform that you built for me to come
Hmm.
on and just share and just talk with you about what I do. So
Awesome,
thank you.
awesome. I'm so glad. So before we get into, because this is going to get heated, guys. Like not argumentatively, but you're going to. A lot of values will be brought out, from this discussion today. So before we get into the serious aspect of this, so Janice, can you tell us a little bit, if some fun things about yourself, that you want the listeners to know about you?
Yeah. So about me, I am from Chicago, born and raised, and mostly educated here, except for I spent some time in Indiana at Purdue University. But like I said, always had a passion for money and finance. I read all the books, took all the courses, and then I ultimately ended up studying finance for undergrad. I love living in Chicago. Summertime
Mhm.
shy is the best. A few fun facts
Nice.
about me is I was a dancer for most of my life, but my true passion is in history and philosophy and interior design and different things
Oh,
like that. Love reading, so that's who I am personally. And I go by Charniese Nina. My last name is Miller, but I have no historical connection to Miller, so I brand myself as Charniese Nina. Nina being my great grandmother's name, and
Hmm.
I feel like that means something special to me. Never met her in real life, but this is me
Hmm.
paying homage to my heritage and going forward from here. And so, who I
Awesome.
am.
That
Yeah.
is beautiful. That's legacy right there. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. I love to hear that. All right. So that is great. So basically, now we know a little bit about you, your background on finance, and how you got into, being passionate, about it. Can you a lot of people, when we talk about credit, like I said today, we're talking about Chinese is going to be dealing with or giving us some tips and hacks on how to grow your personal and business credit. So for you today, I want you to look, demystify credit for us, the credit system. What is it, and how, what is number one, explain the personal credit system and how it works. Basically, demystify for us.
For sure. So let's start with the basics. We're just going to talk about the credit system and where it came from. So the credit system, it's a U.S. based crediting system that was invented in the 1950s. So it's still fairly new. A lot of people don't know that. So it came out. It
Mm,
started around the same time that credit cards were invented, and the biggest crediting company, calculating company that we all probably need to know about is FICO.
right.
FICO issues the credit scores, and it's just a system that measures a consumer's credit worthiness.
Mm,
That's really all it is. So it's for lenders and creditors to determine how fiscally responsible you are with
mm,
debt. And so that's the system, the background of it. I mean, you know what we should know, and for those who don't, your score can range between 300 and 850.
oh,
Obviously, the
wow.
higher, the better. Um, and the components that go into determining your credit score is your payment history. That makes up about 35% of your score.
Mm,
Your debt utilization, that makes up 30% of your score. So those are the
wow.
two biggest components of a credit score. The next is the length of history for your credit score, that takes up 15%. The types of credit, that takes up 10%. And the last thing is recent credit searches, that take up another 10%. So all of these
Mm,
five bullet points or categories make up your credit score, and those are the different weights that they have on them. But the two biggest, well, I'll say the three most important ones are the payment history, the debt utilization, and the length of history for your credit score.
on credit
So that's
score.
the way the system works, and that's the background of it. That's the way that it's calculated. And
Mm,
so knowing those, I think, is the information that we all need to make sure that we have a good and healthy credit score that's going to make things easier for us
right.
for our lives.
Mm,
Too.
great, great. Thank you so much for that. Yes, for somebody that is just coming into the system. I came into the US from Nigeria back in 2005. And all I hear was, yeah, go get a house so you can build your credit, go do this, go do that, and I didn't understand the system then. Of course, with my brother, I got the credit card and I was good with managing, the whole thing then. I'll charge, I'll pay off, but I had no idea how it works,
Right,
right? I was paying it off, but possibly at the wrong time after it's been built. And, that is not, possibly not doing a lot of, it's not adding a lot of advantages to how I handle it at
right,
the time, So with somebody that is newly, especially the teenagers, they're born here, and then newly growing into the system because it's if now would you agree with this statement before I go on, would
yeah.
you agree with this statement that credit is as equally important as cash or even more?
I will agree with it. I will agree with it to some degree. Um,
Okay.
I think cash may rank a little bit higher as it pertains to what am I trying to say? Your overall net worth.
Okay.
right? Having more
Right.
cash is going to help you in that regard, but having credit access is going to make you limitless. So what cash does,
Mm,
you're limited to the amount of cash that you have. So however much you have saved, however much you have in the
mm,
bank, that's all the money to your name, right? And so that's
mm.
all that your life that would support the lifestyle that you want. When
Right.
you have aspirations for bigger and better, and you want to grow faster and you want to stretch farther, that's where credit comes into play. Because
Right.
being able to have access to credit expands you in ways that your own personal cash won't, unless you're already
Mm.
rich.
All right.
You
All
know what I
right. So,
mean? So
yeah.
I will say they're equal in that regard because, yeah, cash means that's what you have, that's what you
Right.
earn, that's what you own. But the credit definitely gives you a wealth of opportunity for you to be able to earn more cash. So it is
Right.
important for you to make sure that your credit worthiness is top notch.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you mentioned credit worthiness. I'm still going back to my question about the teenagers, but on credit worthiness, can you explain what that is?
So credit worthiness just mean it really simply that term means are you worthy of lending credit to,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
it's pretty much like a report card when you're in school. You know, you get a good
mm-hmm.
grade, then you're worthy of passing to the next grade. And if you didn't get a good grade, then you don't. And I think that credit worthiness makes it just it stamps a value to you. You want to borrow something that you don't have, and I it's a risk to me to give that to you if I'm not sure how well or how
Um,
responsible you care for your other debts or your other responsibilities. And so what
right.
makes you credit worthy is a long history of healthy responsibility with debt and credit.
All right.
If that's what people
Awesome.
are looking for, that's what it means.
Yes. And to back that up, I've seen where people have been denied, housing as a result of their credit score. They've not been able to get, loans and things like that. So
Take
it's
advantage
definitely.
of, you get taken advantage of when you don't have credit.
Mm,
You end up paying double, triple sometimes what people who may have less money than you. It's unfair. If you put yourself at a disadvantage when you don't
mm,
have a good credit score, it's going to
right,
cost you more money for sure
right,
in the long run. You're going
right.
to be limited on the things that you want and the access that you have. So it is
Mm.
important to make sure that that number stays at a good, healthy level.
Excellent, excellent. So for a teenager just growing into, going into college now with the parents, they have to give them a card, you know. Now, would you, of course, from what I'm hearing you say now, it's important to build that credit history. So at what time will you say it's good to start teaching your kids on how to use credit? And then what are the, on how to use credit and how to manage it so it doesn't, tank their score. And then for teenagers, parents have to co-sign as well,
Mhm.
correct?
Mhm.
Right. So it affects everybody on that account. So what tips do you have for parents that have teenagers that are just going into that market?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say before I start talking about what age or when you start teenagers off on their
Mm,
financial journey, not even just credit building. So much about having good um, financial management is intangible, and I think that
right.
people don't pay enough attention to the type of person that you are already to be able to
Mm,
begin your own personal finance journey. And parents are the best determinants of when their kids are ready to begin a financial journey. So I would say the first thing you want to do is pay attention, know your kids. You know them more than anybody else. I can't tell you sitting on the other side of the table, yeah, you should get your child a credit card. You would know
right.
yourself when you've given your child a key to get in your home, or when they start driving a car, or whenever you allow them to start dating. There's a certain maturity level and responsibility that you see in your kid to allow them to start doing these things. And I think that
Right.
that's the same consideration you want to have when it comes to money management. So that because I say that 15, 16, 17, 18, even 14 aren't the same across every kid. So you'll be the
Right.
best judgment of when you feel like your child should start this financial journey. The best way to do it is to leave most of the management on you. If you're going to get them a card, that's giving them some responsibility and helping them to learn and get educated about money and
Mm-hmm.
how to use
Right.
credit. But the best thing for you to do, the younger your child is to add them onto your personal credit card. So you get that you start building their credit in the background without them being so
Oh,
hands on. You know what I mean? So the best advice would be as soon as the kid is of age, usually about 13 for most banks and credits, you can check into your bank to see how old the kid
mm,
has to be for you to add them on. Add them on your credit card and you'll start building
okay.
their personal credit for them. The time that I would get them a credit card themselves is when I feel they are responsible enough to use one. And then also they may need one
They're
at the
making,
time.
yeah.
Exactly. So now they may have a car and may run into emergencies, or they're going off to college and may need a credit card for different circumstances in college. So that's when it's
Mm,
time. You should start talking to them about how to manage money and how to use a credit card long before that. But then
absolutely.
at times come, just like when a kid at 16 gets a driver's license, you have to start practicing. You have to get a permit. You have to work with
Mm-hmm.
them before that fateful day where you get the license handed over
They,
to you. Same thing
yes.
with the credit card. I'm going to make sure that you understand how to use it. I've been working with you. I've been talking to you. And now today is the day
Mm,
present you with your very own credit card, yeah, and see how you do with it. And so that's my advice for people who want to start building. You want to start building your child's credit early so that it can benefit
mm-hmm.
them in ways well before college. But
Right.
it depends on your situation. It depends on the kid that you have.
Right.
I wouldn't give D and F students a credit card to use. I would more so link them to my credit card and support
Mm,
them in that way. And if you do feel like they're responsible enough to have their own, get them their own and manage it because it is important. Because
right.
once you ruin your credit, it takes some time building out of it. But at least they'll have a long, healthy credit history.
Right.
Hmm.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. All right. That's really good. Thank you for that.
No
So,
problem.
from your experience, either personally or with your clients, what would you say are the top five credit mistakes, either for personal, on personal credit or business? What would you say are the top five mistakes that people fall into, and then how do you advise your clients to get out of it?
Yeah. So, right off the top of my head, the biggest mistake that people make with maintaining good credit is just not having the information, not understanding
Mm,
credit. You get a credit card or you start your credit journey and you want to build credit and you don't know enough about it. I think what really challenges us as consumers is not having all the information. And so that's
right.
I'm glad that we're doing things like this because it's going to help you make sure that you have good credit for the rest of your life, hopefully, because
Right.
good fiscal responsibility. But you need to be armed with the knowledge. You need the tools. The second thing is just carrying too much debt. They've maxed out their cards. They've
Mm,
got a lot of debt all over the place to where they're upside down on every single thing, and it's going to be a slow, hard climb. I mean, the thing about credit is once you know how to work it, you can impact it fairly quickly, and this is what people don't realize.
right.
It shouldn't take that long to build your credit back, but sometimes carrying too much debt really it automatically limits you in some of the hacks and resources that you can use to building your
Mm,
so you don't want to take on too much. Having low available credit. So this is three. Some I think when I went to college, I took a personal finance course just before getting there, and I was advised to keep all of my credit balances low,
mm,
not to let credit companies and banks expand or extend my credit. So my first credit card had an $800 limit. And I would call when they would bump it up to 1,200, 1,500 to say no, bring it back down to 800
oh,
because
wow.
that's the advice that I was given at that time was one of you can't trust yourself to be responsible. So don't get a large credit because
Mm,
you'll end up maxing out that card and you'll have more debt than you can handle. But that's actually poor advice. I think that
Mm.
actually having more credit available to us and helps our score. So that's the third thing: having low availability, walking around with $1,000 credit card, $1,000 limit credit card, $2,000. It's not enough.
Mm.
And then most of it is just poor habits, budgeting, mismanaging, not paying on time, forgetting the date, not paying enough on your credit card. This is raising your interest, this is raising your debt, and it's lowering your score.
Mm.
And then I think most often the last thing is people don't look. Most people are afraid
Mm.
to check their credit score. You walk around and you ask somebody, hey, have you checked your credit score? Did you pull your free credit report this year? No, no, no. I don't want to. I think we hide away from things when we think they're not good. And most often in those cases, people are typically about average with their credit
Mm.
score, but they don't know. And they continue down a spiral of mismanagement because they're afraid to take a peek, take a look at where their credit stands.
Mm.
And so those are the five things that I notice when people come to me for help building their credit, the situations that hurt them the most.
Wow. Wow. Those are huge.
Yeah.
You talked about, not knowing, not having enough information, right? Education, the literacy around credit and carrying huge balances, on those cards and carrying, about low availability on your card.
Hmm.
That is very, very important. And then, leaving your account past due or late payments and all of that, or just paying the minimum amount due and things like that and still charging on on
Yeah.
the card,
Yeah.
and then not peeking, not looking, not
Okay.
you know paying attention to your credit report.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
in this instance, ignorance is not bliss.
No.
You need to.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And of course, having your credit report pulled every year gives you opportunity to see are there any false claims on there, and you're able to see how well you're doing and how better you can be. And there are
Exactly.
some of those even credit outlets, reporting outlets that gives you tips on how to, if you pay this extra amount, how it's going to affect your credit and all that. But you are going to give us tips that are even much more better. So I'm going to wait for those. Now, before I go into the credit hacks and the tips that you have for us today for both personal and business, I want to dive a little bit into business. Recently, about a little under a year now, we wanted to go into, we needed, of course, funds for our business and things like that. So we want to go into, business loans and things. And then we realized that we need business credit. We need to have been building our business credit. So that was a very, an interesting moment for us realizing that. So can you tell us, how is business credit different from personal credit, if they are, and if they're not, how can a small business owner begin to build? How does that start?
Mhm.
How do you begin to build your business credit?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say about the difference is business credit and personal credit mostly operate the same. The same way you would use and manage your personal credit is the same way, and benefits and advantages and disadvantages of your business credit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you get more spending power with business credit. You're able to take on bigger loans, almost millions of dollars, than you would. Whereas your personal credit, probably they're most on average limits around 30,000. You don't have those types of limits with business credits. When you talk about bonus credit categories for a credit card, for a consumer or personal credit card, your bonus categories are shopping, eating, gas. There are different things that you do day to day in your lifestyle. Whereas business credit is
Mm-hmm.
going to be more toward geared for business expenses, like utilities or
Right.
construction stores and manufacturers and different things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another difference. At business credit bureaus, with the two or three big ones for them is Experian, Equifax, and Duns and Bradstreet. A lot of times you get the benefit of having an automatic itemized tax report for tax purposes that you wouldn't get with your personal credit.
Oh,
I
wow.
think that those are some of the bigger benefits to having a business credit card. A lot. I'm glad that you told your own personal story, because this is
Mm,
another ignorance is not bliss. Not knowing that when it's time to take on a business loan, that you have had to have business credit. And we're talking about history for personal credit. You need history with business credit. So as soon
absolutely.
as you apply for your EIN number, you should be opening up a business credit account, bank account,
Wow.
and business credit cards. It's automatic.
We've we've had this business for over 10 years. Can you imagine? And then
Yeah,
just last year we
yeah.
realized business credits were
Yeah,
crazy, you
it's a
know?
tough lesson to learn.
Wow.
Now they're getting sophisticated where your business starts, the business history starts at the EIN number, just not the financial history. And I think people
Hmm.
just don't know. Even if you don't think you're going to be buying anything, you don't have any business expenses, you don't have any overhead, you need to get it just in case. Whatever aspirations you have for your business, whatever day you want to grow in, whatever you want to grow into, you need to
Right.
be able to walk in the bank, even if you need $5,000 for printers, computers, or whatever. Having
Mhm.
business financial history is going to help support you in getting that loan for your
Absolutely.
business. Otherwise, you're going to be paying for it personally out of your personal credit, and you
Right,
can keep
right,
your personal and your business credit separate. Even just the finances separate, because obviously it protects you
right.
for whatever happens with the business.
Exactly.
So I would advise that as soon as you start that LLC, sole proprietorship, S corp, whatever
Mm.
it is, you get the EIN number. You need to go straight to the bank, set up a business bank account, get a business credit card.
Right. Awesome. Yes, we had to learn that the hard way. So I'm glad somebody is learning this as soon as they open their own
Yeah,
their
yeah.
own business right away. Awesome. Now, there are some credit hacks and tips that you mentioned. There are some I the part of the story of your story that actually fascinated me, that drew me in, was the way you use your credit card personally. So
Hmm.
can you tell us, while I'm sure you're going to touch on that in
Yeah.
the tips. So give us the tips and the hacks that you personally use and that you know about, that we can begin using today to improve our credit health,
Yeah.
basically.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, get your pens, paper out, pads. This is the gems of the hour.
Da-da-da.
My personal tips for growing credit and using credit cards. So, having done a immense study in personal finance and credit, the advice that was always heavily given was to not go into debt. Get rid of
Mm,
your credit cards. If you do have credit cards, keep your utilization ratio under 30%.
30%.
And then you'll be fine. Upon my research, I found that all of those were completely, well, not completely false, but they do
Mm,
not serve the purpose of growing your credit score quickly and maintaining a high and healthy balance. It
mm,
usually keeps you at about average, if that. Um, and so this is what I determined. One, you should use debt, leverage debt to your advantage. The problem is when you're using debt for consuming and you don't have the money to pay off the debt. But the debt, just like I explained earlier in the podcast, gives you freedom, limitless freedom to
right.
do things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do with your own cash. Um, I would also say to the credit utilization, the 30%, you want to kind of keep a practice of having lower than 10% credit utilization. And I'll give you tips on how you can do that, because I know many of the listeners may have a high balance credit card or a lot of debt and not in a position to pay down their debt enough to get that far below 30%. Well,
Mm,
the other end of it, you can burn this candle at both sticks. And I think people don't realize that actually increasing your credit limits helps you with lowering that utilization. So even if you don't pay off any debt, you can increase your credit limit, your credit availability, and that will automatically push your percentage lower than you paying anything. So
Right.
my advice is pick a few times a year for you to call up your banks and your credit holders to ask for an increase on your credit score or even apply for new credit. Open up a new credit
Mm.
card because that balance is going to add to your overall credit utilization, right?
Right.
So when I spoke earlier about people having low balances, I have a $1,000 credit card, I had a $1,500 credit card, and then you have a 800 balance on it, $900 balance on it. Your ratio is way too high,
Right.
at that point. And that's a very low balance. $800 is not a lot of debt, depending on the
Mm.
person. But as soon as you bump that credit card up to 5,000, 10,000, you're well under the 10% in your utilization ratio. And so
Mm.
you want to make sure that you always have availability, more availability credit than you're using. So to the point where it's almost impossible for you to max yourself out.
Mm.
With being responsible,
Of course.
I realize giving this advice, some people have to make an adjustment to using their credit cards in that way, which gives me the other tip. Use your credit cards. Leave the debit cards at home,
Mm.
hide them under your mattress, put them in the freezer. I don't care what you do with them, but I am going to explain to you the benefits of using your credit card versus your debit card. Okay.
Mm.
I coined this phrase and I said this at the conference 2 weeks ago, and I like it, but your credit gives you a PPP,
Mm.
protection, points, and perks. Okay. And so the biggest thing, if you don't take anything away from using credit cards, is the protection. Okay, you're protected against fraud. Your money in the bank is protected. If you have an issue on your debit card where you made a purchase or someone else made a purchase and you want to dispute that claim, your
Right.
money's already gone and you're going to have a really tough time haggling with your bank to get the money back and to prove that this claim on your chart on your card isn't you or was done recklessly.
Fraudulently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so now you're out of cash, whereas your credit company, your credit card is not your cash. Your money is safely in your bank, and
Hmm.
you use your credit card at your leisure. And if you were a victim of fraud or some disputed claim you want to have for some purchase that you didn't make or don't want, your
Hmm.
credit card is going to battle that out with the merchant, and your money stays safely in your account
Right.
for whatever rainy day expenses that you may have. If you use your debit card, you're constantly using your money and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage for everyday money management.
Right.
Okay. So the perks are just what I talked about earlier, bonus categories. You got everyday spending that you're going to do anyway. And
Right.
you're going to be spending the money and earn something from it. That's already better than spending your money in your debit card and getting nothing.
Mm.
And so you earn travel points, you earn entertainment points, you earn cash back. I said every year I take a vacation completely all expense paid, flight and lodging just on credit card points. And
Mm.
it's the best hack ever. I don't understand why anyone would not want to use their money in this way. And then I've heard when I give this advice that even all the spending that they do in their leisure doesn't grow them enough points. What I did, my personal hack was I switched all of my bills, all of my payments, every monthly payment that I have that I could, that's not attached to ACH clearing,
Right.
goes through my credit card, every single one of them. I earn more points. And let me tell you the other good thing about that. It definitely helps with my money management and my budgeting. I no longer have to remember due dates. I no longer have to go through a spreadsheet of 30 different, my cable bill, my car note, my insurance, my phone bill, all of those things that have to get paid at a certain time is already taken care of on the date that they need to be by my credit card. Because I put them on auto pay. So
Right.
I'm saving with, there are merchants who give you some additional savings if you put them on auto pay. I don't have to
Right.
think about the dates at all. I don't have to take money out of my account. My money isn't at risk of going into the negative and me paying some crazy bank fees for overcharges. My
Hmm.
credit card is big enough to handle all of my monthly expenses. And all I do is go into my account twice a month and pay off my credit card
Wow.
consistently. And so every time I get a paycheck, I send a check to my credit card. And then by the time I send my second check, it's usually paid off because I can afford my monthly expenses.
Right.
Now my points are growing. I got 2 payments instead of 30.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my expenses are paid on time. My credit score stays healthy. And I'm making sure that I pay my one payment every month, which is my credit card.
Yeah.
I don't know any other hacks that's more beautiful than that.
That was the one I said I picked at the conference. That since I left the conference, I don't think for 2 weeks now, I don't think I've used my debit card. All I do is use my credit card and then I pay it,
Pay the
the
credit card.
bill on the
Yes.
credit card. And it
It's
is the best hack ever
it's so
so
beautiful.
far.
I do know that if you haven't been doing that, there is an adjustment period and there is some time to make that reversal, that exchange, because some people are carrying more of a balance and they want to
So
pay the credit card off before they start using it. Some people have really I want to think of a good phrase for this, but I don't have one right now. But using their credit card disassociates them with their money in their bank, and so they go crazy. They're
yeah.
buying everything. And so when you, to the point that I made in the beginning, you want to make sure that you create good habits and you are someone that is on a credit and wealth building journey, which means
Mm,
that you are fiscally responsible and that you're committed and determined. And that type of person is going to be the person who has good credit, who's going to be able to build wealth, who's not going to have a problem using their credit card everywhere they go. So
right.
the hacks will work. You have to make sure that you're responsible and you're committed and consistent with this process. And so, what I tell people, even if you have a balance on your credit card, you can get to a point where you've reversed to using your credit card versus your debit card. What
Mm,
you have to do is, as soon as the expenses that you would have paid for out of your bank account, you pay it on the credit card.
right.
All of the money goes to the credit card the next month because you're going to be using the credit card, because you're like, well, what, I cannot have money, I want my cash. Put it on the credit card. Okay, and then that way you'll start getting comfortable using your credit card for all the expenses.
Mm,
When you leave the house, most places take credit card, if not all.
right.
Use the credit card, and then when you come home and it's time to pay the credit card 30 days later, by that time you would have gotten your paycheck
More
or wherever you get
income.
your money from, and you
Yeah.
can pay off the expenses that you put on the card and
Mm,
then start chipping away at the other balance. But it is an adjustment, but you want to get into that habit as soon as possible because it's much better to do it this way than to do
right.
it the other way. So
Right.
yeah, I don't even remember my debit card pin. That's how much I don't use it.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't use it at all.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
Now, yeah, at the conference, somebody asked you this question, and I'm going to repeat the same, and what whatever additional information you've gathered since then, maybe you can share as well. So, are there any tips as far as the credit companies, the credit cards that gives points? Because not all of them do. And if they do, they might have different ways of doing it. So, from your experience, what credit cards, are the ones that are serving you the most? And have you found any other that you feel, next time I want to open a credit card, this is the one I'm going to do?
So definitely look into the thing about credit cards, especially when I got them, is they're all hip to this game now. They all
Yeah.
offer the most points that you'll get on your credit card at the fastest rate is when you first open the card because they have promotional points that they'll give you. And so I'm going to share what my personal favorites are. But every year there's a new rollout and
Right.
another ranking, and some card is better than this because everybody's figuring out like, oh, we need to be competitive, we need to
Mm,
have a good card. So the best thing you can do when you're looking for your credit cards is just do a real analysis of your personal spending habits, right? And what you want, what benefit you want from your credit card.
yeah.
My priority is travel. I'm good with paying all of my expenses. I don't want the cash back. I don't need any other purchase. What I want to save on is travel, right? I can even find cheap flights. It's really the hotels that I'm really wanting to use points for because they
Mm,
never get discounted. So that's my priority. And so I search for the best travel cards and universal travel cards, not the ones that are specific to certain merchants and airlines and
okay.
hotels. I
Mm,
usually like the overall ones because I can use the points at any of those franchises as opposed to having to stick with one.
Right.
I have, I use my Amex Gold. I have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, and I have another Chase Freedom and a City card actually. But I don't want anybody to go and rack up all these credit cards. This
Right.
is
Of
over the
course.
years.
Of
My
course.
Chase Freedom is my college card, and that's my long history. So I keep that around, but I don't use it. Rarely do I use it. And
Mm.
so those are my favorites because those are two big travel cards and they have spending categories that I feel fit my personal lifestyle. So it's
Yeah.
4 points at grocery stores or 5 points at gas stations or 3 to 4 times the points if you spend at a local like a convenience shop or something
Right.
like that, so those types of categories were attractive to me because I knew that I could make those spending purchases and then $1 per point for everything else, so but if you are someone who is climbing out of debt, it will benefit you to have the cash back or to save on certain purchases. I would look at a cash back card because now you're paying off debt and you have, let's say, a $500 expense for that credit card, and you have so many categories where you get cash back that you get $100 back. So
Right.
that's $400 that you've had to pay for. $500, $100 you can put in your savings or
Right.
put towards another debt.
Towards
Right.
another. Yeah.
Right. So if you're in debt, I would say, yeah, look for the cash back earning cards. Look for um, travel cards if you don't care and you don't have any other debt. And there's one other um, advantage that credit cards give you that I'm missing in terms of the point system when you want to earn
Right.
points. And
Right.
so for the perks, which was something that I didn't hit on, and I think it took me a while to really learn how much protection and insurance and security that I get with my credit card a
Mm.
little later. Not only do they sometimes offer special additional advantages like um, the global travel that you get. And I'm not thinking of the exact name for it right now,
Okay.
but though, yeah, and then certain lounges and stuff. But beyond that, if you rent a car, your credit card will give you most often the bigger ones have up to 50, I think 50 to 100,000. The same thing that your traditional car insurance would offer you.
Right.
Your credit card, just renting your car on that car,
Using the card. Yeah.
in the car, travel protection, covering your luggage if it gets lost,
Right.
injury and loss to you if something were to
Mm.
happen during your travel. If you don't pay that extra insurance travel when you book your travel, when you book on your credit card, you certain ones you automatically have that protection, which is
Right.
another added bonus and benefit to using your credit card as opposed to your debit card. You don't have to pay exchange fees with some of the really good cards. When you go overseas and you want to use your credit card, you're not adding that additional exchange fee when you use your debit card to switch the currency, right?
Mm.
Because that's adding to your purchases and adding to your overall travel costs. And so there's just endless amounts of benefits to using your credit card versus your debit card. And I think
Right.
that when we don't know, we just don't do because all we hear is don't go into debt, don't use your credit, leave it at home. And that is for at base for someone who really can't control themselves. And I would say stick to the no debt, but someone who's really on this wealth building journey, really
Right.
want to grow, really want to expand, and you're up to it, you're fiscally responsible, you should be using your credit cards.
Right. Right.
It's
That's
just that's the new age 21st century solution to this.
right.
It's not your grandmother's do not use your credit card only for emergencies if your tire blows out. We're
Mm.
not in that day anymore.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome. Oh, yes. So these are amazing, amazing tips, right? To
Mhm.
be able to, uh, number one, not get yourself in trouble with, with your credit usage, being responsible. And I love your emphasis on the fact that individuals have to be disciplined themselves
Yes.
before even saying, now I want to begin to take advantage of these things. Because if personally you're not physically responsible by yourself, it's going to, slip into how you manage your money. And that's, it's just the way it
And just
is.
in life, not even
Yes,
not advocacy, even though I have all the details and hacks and trips about money, money still is not the top priority in life,
absolutely.
right? So just on this journey of self-discovery in creation and adding and being a contribution up into our life, you're already a type of person.
Right.
That's what you should be up to day in your life, and everything else will slowly fall into place,
Well,
including the management of your money. But I think
exactly.
some people have that priority out of whack, and everybody just wants to chase cash, get more money, and they think more money will
Mm.
afford them this lifestyle and this way of being that they're
Um,
attracted to. And I think it's really the reverse.
oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. So I think the last point that I would want you to look at. It's been an amazing, amazing discussion here. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
your
it's been
time.
good. It's been good. I'm thinking to myself all over again. Like, damn, that's right.
Awesome, awesome. So, yeah, I'm sure you said you have access to resources, that folks can use, can go to, either for their business credit and even for personal. So, will you be able to share some of those with us that, like either where literatures, that we can, like books and website that people can go to learn more about
Mhm,
this
mhm,
stuff,
mhm, mhm.
and then other, you know prevalent credit benefits that is out there right now that people can take advantage of.
Yeah, so one of my favorite websites, that really quick hack that I go to when I want to search credit cards and the benefits of them, is Nerd Wallet. I love Nerd Wallet. They
Nerd,
put out Nerd Wallet.
nerd world.
They put out a list and ranking of the best credit cards every year. So I usually go on there and see who's the MVP for the year and who to recommend to my clients, and for whatever reason. Um, I will say, obviously, Credit Karma is good for pulling your free credit report
Yeah.
annually when you want to take a look at it. For business credit, I usually advise people to go to some of the bigger banks give you the best options when you're talking about business credit. They even
Mm.
have more capacity, to offer you with business credit. And so I know BMO Harris is a good resource for it. Wells Fargo is another, and Chase, obviously, and sometimes, usually, it's your personal banks that offer the best
Right.
business credit. You can go with smaller banks for your personal, but I would stick with the bigger ones for business because it's just going to
Oh,
give you more leverage in that regard.
awesome.
And another point I wanted to make, because I did say I had an Amex, and most people get caught up in the Amex hype, the American Express card, but I want to make the note that they are charge cards and they're not credit cards. So they don't work in the same way where they're going to benefit your credit score.
Hmm.
You don't have a balance, I mean, a limit in availability. Usually they just approve you on the spot for certain purchases. You can use it like a credit card, but you can't carry a balance. Typically, you have to pay off whatever balance you have on that card at the due date of that month.
Hmm.
That's the difference with American Express that I think most people aren't clear on. I've had some clients that I've helped that come back and say, "Oh, I got the Amex. My credit score didn't go." I was like, "It's not a credit card. It's a
Hmm.
charge card." And so I wish you had consulted with me before you did that. So that's one point I did want to make. It was in my mind that I love the American Express card, but it is not a credit card. So you want to choose wisely when you go. If you're trying to build your credit score, you should
Wow.
definitely be getting a credit card first. Yeah.
Excellent.
So those are the bigger ones that I can think of.
So when you say charge card versus,
Credit
yeah,
card.
credit card, what is the advantage of a charge card over credit card?
Um, I won't say over credit card. I would just say different. So the
Okay.
charge card, the benefit of having the charge card for me, especially for American Express, was really just the benefits that came with it. So the types of points that I was able to take advantage of,
Okay.
um, just the weight and the value that comes behind American Express and where you can use it. There's not limitations with Mastercard and Visa. Those are some of the other bigger credit card holders, but
Right.
I personally, I think it's just really what do I want to call it? Why I wanted an Amex. My card is metal, so it was kind of a cheesy thing for me to get the Amex because I felt like
Mm.
it meant something. My friend had one, and I
Yeah.
liked the weight of it. And then it keeps me in line. Whatever I charge on that card, I have to pay it off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a good way to exercise paying off a credit card, having a charge card, because you don't have the option to carry the balance. But
Carry
you can,
balances.
but without having the limit, I can go and buy a car on my MX card if I wanted to. I can buy a house on my MX card if I wanted to. I would not,
Mm-hmm.
but you literally can finance yourself as opposed to, well, you can with a credit card. I would not do that with the MX because you would have to pay it off
You have to pay it off. Pay
within
money.
that cycle. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not. There's not much difference between the two. I think it's really a vanity thing for me.
Right.
But I think
Prestige.
it's a yeah,
Next.
yeah, yeah. Let's go with that. I made enough here. Let me go ahead and get my charge card and get these,
Right.
and then it just was easier for travel. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, on a final note, and if you still have anything extra that you want to add, that will be splendid. But on a final note, I want to ask, what will this is separate from just credit usage now, but generally as a person, what would you say you will want your legacy to be? As a person, as I'm sure you're intentionally working towards being able to have impact all around you. What is that very thing that you want people to know about you, remember about you, wherever you go?
Yeah. Well, and that's a big and deep and broad question. But you said it already with impact. I think that
Mm,
after the challenges that we all faced last year, I mean, I was already up to personal finance work and attracted to this industry, but after last year, it really forced you to think and contemplate. And when you see the struggles, especially of a certain group, and how much harder you get hit when you're behind the curve, especially the financial curve,
mm.
because most of it is because of that.
Right.
I started to think, okay, what what is going to be my contribution? Um, but my life's why is really outside of the financial assistance that I offer people, which is at base, because I do think that you need to get beyond that to get the type of freedom to do the work that I am advocating for.
Hmm.
But just really for people to be able to live lives beyond what they've ever imagined for themselves, just to stretch them in ways that they didn't see possible. And I think that our vision is very clouded and limited when we have financial struggles and other challenges that doesn't allow us to do the type of deep self discovery that we need to do,
Right.
because most of us, I would argue, don't know who we are, as people. We were raised to follow a certain path, to get educated, to
Mm.
assume positions and roles and jobs that we didn't create. They
Right.
were we just assimilated into it. And I think that for the advancement of our people, it would be beneficial to us to know who we are and really
Right.
start becoming producers as opposed to consumers, and be
Consumers.
creative. And I think that starts with getting in line with what your unique abilities are, what your given talents, not learned
Mm.
ones. And that takes time to discover. I'm still discovering and unfolding this, but that is my avocation to
Mm.
anybody and everybody, and that is what I feel like my legacy would be, for us to advance ourselves as a people and for the communities and the world that we inhabit around us. Because
Right.
if we don't get past certain phases, we're never going to be able to solve some of the world's biggest challenges that we have today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Any final or parting words for us today? And I would love that you share what services do you offer and how can people work with you?
Yeah. So my final thought will be I am building my own personal website where we can do just what I was talking about in terms of my legacy. This is going to be my self expression to invite
Mm.
people to join a community of just knowledge pursuit, theory sharing, ideas and perspective sharing for all of us to be able to grow
Mm.
and think and be able to live better lives because of the application of that. You can find me right now at Charniese Nina, Charniese.Nina on Instagram. I'm building out Char's Credit Corner, which is going to be my personal finance and coaching platform underneath the Charniese Nina brand. My Thoughts and Words is my other website that I'm talking about for the knowledge sharing community, is where they're going to be able to find me also. Both of those are still under construction. But right now, DM me on Instagram, or you can email me at Charniese, followed by the letter M, at gmail.com. If you want personal financial help with your just everyday budgeting and wealth management, I can certainly help you with that, and we can put something together. And then look out for me. I'll be promoting everything else on this platform. It's sorry, Charniese.Nina, but you should find me once you type in Charniese. And
Yes.
I'm very honored to have been here. I appreciate
Awesome.
you, Omo, for putting me on your platform and speaking to your community. But yeah, y'all, come talk to me. Let's do this.
Excellent. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. So,
Yeah.
folks, you're welcome. So, I know you've had a lot of notes written. You can go over this again if you have to catch on all the tips that you need. You can listen to this as many times as you want. And of
Yeah.
course, if you need help, if you need further guidance, please reach out to Janice, and you can get her on IG, and from there she'll direct you in the way that she would have you go. And of course, be on the lookout for all of those soon to come, the website, and I'm sure there's a book in there somewhere.
Yeah. 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 And there's a link in my bio just to a quick 30-minute session with me. You can book there too.
Excellent.
But
Yes.
yeah, there'll be lots of book recommendations on my website.
Right. Right. I'm
Really
saying
nerd.
you
Oh,
writing a
me.
book. Yes.
At some point, yeah, we'll do that. We'll make
Yeah.
that happen, Omo. I'm gonna have you hold me to it.
Woohoo. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Because all of this information, putting it together and just, it's going
Yeah.
to be amazing.
Yeah. We got to do it. You know.
Yes, and of course, it's caters to different learners, different styles of learning. Some
Yes.
people, they want to hold something and just read,
Yes.
right, to get
Yes.
those information. So instead of just going to this website, going to that website, just have it all in your book,
You're right.
for us to access it and all. So yes.
You said it. Now I got to add that I can't unhear it. Right.
Yes, you can't. I've sown the seed.
Exactly. Okay.
All right,
Well,
all right.
thank you.
Nice
This has
to
been
hear
great.
you. Nice to have you. Thank you so much. Mwah. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Love you
All
for
right. Bye,
coming. All right.
everybody.
Have a good one.
You too.